The Tale of Adwoa and the Bearded Twins. A Village of Whispers. Once upon a time, in the lush, rolling hills of a village called Adwoa, nestled deep in the heart of a vibrant African land, there lived a young woman named Adwoa. Born under the golden glow of a harvest moon, Adwoa was a child of striking beauty, with eyes like polished ebony and a smile that could warm the coldest dawn. The villagers of Adwoa, known for their tightly knit community and lively festivals, adored her in her early years. But as Adwoa grew, something peculiar began to happen. By her 16th year, fine, dark hairs began to sprout beneath her chin, forming a beard that grew longer with each passing season. At first, Adwoa laughed it off, thinking it a quirk of nature. But the villagers' reactions were far less kind. They whispered behind their hands, their words sharp as thorns. Boy girl, they called her, their laughter echoing through the market square. Adwoa is no maiden, she's turning into a man. The young women of Adwoa, once her playmates, turned their backs, refusing to be seen with someone so strange. Adwoa's heart, once light as a weaverbird's song, grew heavy with shame. She began to avoid the bustling village paths, her head bowed to escape the mocking stares. Adwoa's mother, Adwoa, a weaver with hands as skilled as her heart was gentle, tried to comfort her daughter. "My child," Adwoa would say, her voice soft as the cotton she wove, "your beauty is not in your face alone but in your spirit." Let their words fall like dry leaves. But Adwoa could not unhear the taunts. The names, boy girl, bearded one, clung to her like burrs. In her despair, she made a painful choice. She would retreat to her family's mud brick hut at the edge of the village, vowing never to step into the world again. The hut became Adwoa's sanctuary, its cool, shadowed walls shielding her from the cruelty outside. She spent her days weaving with her mother, her fingers nimble but her heart aching. She longed for the days when she danced under the baobab tree with other girls, their laughter mingling with the rhythm of drums. But now, the world beyond her door felt like a battlefield. On her darkest nights, Adwoa's thoughts turned to ending her pain, but a quiet, persistent voice in her mind whispered, "Hold on, Adwoa. Your story is not yet written." The village forgets. Years passed, and Adwoa's absence became a void in Adwoa. The villagers, quick to gossip, began to whisper that she had perished. "Adwoa is gone," they said, their voices tinged with guilt and curiosity. Perhaps her shame consumed her. When Adwoa passed away, her funeral drew the entire village, but Adwoa did not appear. The absence confirmed their rumors. Adwoa, the bearded girl, was no more. Yet the village prospered, its fields lush with yams and maize, its markets brimming with trade. None suspected that their fortune was tied to the very person they had shunned. One sun-drenched afternoon, a stranger arrived in Adwoa. His name was Quasi, a young man with a traveler's dust on his sandals and a spark of determination in his eyes. Quasi had come from the distant village of Asante, a place of rolling savannas and ancient palaces. As he rested under the shade of a mango tree, he overheard the villagers' tales of Adwoa, their words dripping with mockery and regret. Intrigued, Quasi approached them. "Where does this Adwoa live?" he asked, his voice steady but curious. The villagers pointed to a weathered hut at the village's edge, half hidden by overgrown grasses. "She's long gone," they said, shaking their heads. "No one has seen her in years." But Quasi's heart stirred. He had been searching for someone, guided by stories and seers, and something told him Adwoa was more than a village tale. A knock at the door. Quasi approached the hut, its mud walls cracked but sturdy, its thatched roof sagging with age. He knocked, the sound echoing in the stillness. No answer came. He knocked again, his persistence born of a hope he could not name. Finally, he pushed the door open, its hinges creaking in protest. Inside, in the dim light, he saw her, Adwoa, seated in a corner, her knees drawn to her chest. Her beard, now long and braided, framed a face etched with sorrow. "I am Quasi," he said gently, stepping closer. "I've heard of you, Adwoa, and I had to see you for myself." Adwoa's eyes widened, wary but curious. No one had spoken her name with such kindness in years. "Why do you hide here?" Quasi asked, settling on the floor across from her. Haltingly, Adwoa poured out her story, her shame, the villagers' cruelty, the weight of her difference. Quasi listened, his face softening with understanding. When she finished, he leaned forward. "I've been searching for you, Adwoa," he said. "Not just for days, but for months, across villages and rivers. Come with me to Asante. There, you'll find answers." Adwoa hesitated. The world beyond her hut was a place of pain, but quasi-sincerity stirred something in her, a flicker of hope. With a trembling breath, she agreed. As she stepped outside, the sunlight stung her eyes, and the villagers' gasps followed her. "Adwoa lives," they whispered, their voices a mix of shock and scorn. "Look at her beard." But Quasi took her hand, his grip firm. "True beauty," he said, "is not what they see. Walk with me." A journey to Asante. The journey to Asante was long, the paths winding through forests and over hills. Adwoa felt exposed, her heart racing with every step, but Quasi's presence steadied her. He spoke of Asante's people, their warmth, their stories of ancestors who wielded great power. For the first time in years, Adwoa felt a spark of belonging. When they reached Asante, the village greeted them with open arms. Children ran to Adwoa, touching her braided beard with wonder, not mockery. Elders smiled, offering her yams and palm wine. "Welcome, sister," they said, as if they had known her forever. Adwoa's heart swelled, she had never felt so seen, so accepted. Quasi led her to the palace, its walls adorned with intricate carvings of gods and spirits. At the gates, Adwoa saw a frail girl, no older than 10, lying on a mat, her breaths shallow. Moved by compassion, Adwoa knelt beside her, brushing a hand over the girl's forehead. To her astonishment, the girl's eyes fluttered open, her cheeks regaining color. The crowd gasped, and Adwoa turned to Quasi, bewildered. Inside the palace, Adwoa's breath caught. Before her stood a young woman who could have been her mirror, same ebony eyes, same braided beard. "This is Princess Abena," Quasi said, smiling. "Your twin sister." The truth unveiled. The king of Asante, Nana Ya, emerged from his chambers, his presence commanding yet warm. "Adwoa," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "welcome home." As Adwoa stood frozen, he told a tale that unraveled the mystery of her life. Decades ago, Nana Ya had loved a weaver named Ifua, Adwoa's mother. Their love was forbidden, for Ifua was a commoner, and the royal family demanded he marry a princess from a neighboring kingdom. Unbeknownst to him, Ifua was pregnant with twins when he was forced to part ways with her. In Asante, twins were considered a taboo, destined to be abandoned in the sacred forest. To protect her daughters, Ifua entrusted one twin, Abena, to a midwife, who delivered her to the king. Ifua fled with the other, Adwoa, to Kwadwo, vowing to keep their twinship a secret. Years later, when Abena began to grow a beard, Nana Ya sought answers. A seer revealed the truth: the twins were bound by a powerful destiny. Their beards, a mark of their unique magic, would grow until they were reunited. The seer declared that twins were not a curse but a blessing, capable of bringing prosperity to any land they touched. Nana Ya sent Quasi, his son and Adwoa's brother, to find the missing twin. Quasi's search had led him to Kwadwo, where whispers of a bearded girl pointed him to Adwoa. As Adwoa and Abena embraced, their beards vanished, their faces radiant with joy. Their reunion unlocked their shared power, and Asante flourished, its crops abundant, its people united. Adwoa and Abena became inseparable, their laughter filling the palace as they shared stories of their lost years. Months later, visitors from Kwadwo arrived at Asante's palace. Their faces were gaunt, their voices desperate. "We seek Adwoa," they said. "Since she left, our village has withered, crops fail, rivers dry. A seer told us Adwoa's presence brought our prosperity, and only strands of her beard can restore it." Nana Ya summoned Adwoa, who entered with Abena at her side. The villagers gasped. Adwoa's beard was gone. "You mocked her," Nana Ya said, his voice stern. "You drove her away, and now you suffer. Why should she help you?" Adwoa stepped forward, her eyes steady. "I know their cruelty," she said, "but I also know compassion." She turned to the villagers. "I will return to Kwadwo, not for your seer's ritual, but to heal the land with my sister." Adwoa and Abena returned to Kwadwo, their presence drawing crowds. The villagers, once scornful, now bowed their heads in shame. Adwoa and Abena raised their hands, and the earth responded, fields bloomed, rivers flowed. The village erupted in cheers, and the people fell to their knees, begging forgiveness. "We were blind," they said. "You are our blessing." Adwoa smiled, her heart light. "Let us build a new Kwadwo," she said, "where no one is judged for being different." The villagers vowed to change, and Kwadwo became a beacon of unity, its prosperity rooted in kindness. The lesson. The tale of Adwoa and Abena teaches us that our words hold power, to wound or to heal. It reminds us to cherish those who are different, for they may carry gifts we cannot yet see. And above all, it shows that true beauty lies in the heart, and kindness can transform even the hardest of souls.